Before we can understand the Babylon religion of the future, we have to comprehend the Babylon religion of the past. We've got to see the mother to which they all return. Came about as they journeyed east, they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And they said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks, fire them thoroughly." They used brick for stone, and they used tar for mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build for ourselves a city, and a tower whose top will reach into heaven. Let us make for ourselves a name, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." And the Lord came down to see the city, and the tower which the sons of men had built. And the Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language." And this is what they began to do, and now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. They have tremendous unity and tremendous power. "Come," says God, "let us," the Trinitarian plural, "go down and there confuse their language, that they may not understand one another's speech." So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. Therefore its name was called Babel, because there the Lord confused the language of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them abroad over the face of the whole earth. What was going on? Rebellion against the true God. What were they building? They were building a monument to man. This was the first great humanistic enterprise. Verse 4, "Let us make for ourselves a name." But it was more than just humanistic, it was religious. What they were building in this tower was called a ziggurat. And on the top of a ziggurat was placed, would you believe, the sign of the zodiac.
Astrologers focus on the area of the night sky known as the ecliptic, as seen here. The ecliptic is the apparent path of the sun as seen from the earth. Divided into the 12 major constellations that make up the ecliptic, astrologers follow the celestial bodies as they travel through it. From the ecliptic is derived the zodiac that we know today. The Egyptians believed that the heavens were imbued with the magical and mystical properties of their gods and goddesses, and they believed that they could channel their energies by reflecting the constellations in their architecture on the ground below. An example is the layout of the pyramids at Giza, which the Egyptians built to reflect the celestial grouping known as Orion's belt. It's an ancient hermetic principle called as above, so below. Astrology today has been largely relegated to the ranks of superstition, with many people glancing at their horoscopes for fun. But tabloid astrology merely focuses on the position of the sun through the ecliptic. In-depth astrology considers the influence of all the solar system's celestial bodies, following the positions of the sun, Saturn, and even Pluto. As the celestial bodies travel through the ecliptic, the apparent path they trace as seen from the earth, astrologers believe they form influential aspects to each other. This in-depth astrology is used in occult circles, such as secret societies, like the Order of the Golden Dawn, with its complex occult symbolism.
Priests were then ordained, who by the use of the ancient zodiac were supposed to chart the course of the stars, and therefore gain spiritual wisdom and read the future. This was defiant rebellion against the true and only God. Isn't it amazing? God had drowned the whole world. You'd think they'd have gotten a message. And this abomination to God was led by a man by the name of Nimrod. He became the standard of power. His brashness can be seen in that he was before God. He boldly would attempt to take his place before God. He had power, he had might, he had a kingdom, which means he was a ruler, and his headquarters were at Babel, or as it was later called, Babylon. It became common in the ancient world for people to build huge mounds of sun-dried bricks dedicated to heathen deities and to the zodiac.
ألم تر إلى الذي حاج إبراهيم في ربه أن آتاه الله الملك إذ قال إبراهيم ربي الذي يحيي ويميت قال أنا أحيي وأميت قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأت بها من المغرب فبهت الذي كفر والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين.
Bethink thee of him who had an argument with Abraham about his Lord, because Allah had given him the kingdom. How, when Abraham said, My Lord is he who giveth life and causeth death, he answered, I give life and cause death. Abraham said, Lo, Allah causeth the sun to rise in the east, so do thou cause it to come up from the west. Thus was the disbeliever abashed. And Allah guideth not wrongdoing folk.
If you go outside the city of Atlanta, go east about 60 or 70 miles to the town of Elberton, and then go north on Highway 77 about 10 miles, you'll find off to the right what's called the Georgia Guidestones. Him came in, paid cash, had this company set these things up in 1980, called himself R.C. Christian, but that's not his real name. It says it right on the stones, a pseudonym, false name. On these Georgia Guidestones, it gives the 10 Commandments for the New World Order. 10 Commandments for the New World Order. The first commandment was to maintain humanity under 500 million. I went there and looked at those things and said, oh, hold on a minute. Today's population is 6 billion. They want to maintain humanity under 1/2 billion. Looks like a lot of people got to die for their plan to work, which is, by the way, the plan. Jacques Cousteau said we'd have to eliminate 350,000 people a day. 1/3 people a day would have to be eliminated to save Mother Earth. Bill Clinton said we need to reduce the population of the earth to 1 billion. There are a lot of folks who would like to reduce the population of the earth. The Bible command is quite the opposite. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. You know, God said, go fill it, have a bunch of kids. The Bible says he designed it to be inhabited. So no, it's absolutely the opposite of what God wants.
Perhaps we need some outside universal threat. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet I ask you, is not an alien force already among us?
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations.
Are we at one of those moments in history in which there is the necessity for a new world order? A, because of what's taken place in the Middle East, the rise of different kinds of groups, and B, what's happened in Asia, meaning that there has been a shift from the West to the East.
There's a need for a new world order, but it has different characteristics in different parts of the world.
The agenda of all secret societies is to rule the masses so that the masses become slaves, fodder, malleable, useful, eliminatable laboratory animals.
And does this, the dollar bill, hold the secret to a new world order?
We have new world order right here on our dollar bills, and yet most people are unaware of this.
This is an effort to uncover the worst and most incredible criminal organization and conspiracy in human history. And they have put this conspiracy together over hundreds of years, centuries it's taken them to get this kind of control. They designed these kinds of warfares that we experienced in the last century as a means to this control. And they are willing to do anything to meet their goals. The local group that's running the world, they are a very dangerous group of people. They are evil beyond anything you can wrap your brain around. They have a messiah picked out and they're waiting to announce it. This stuff is real. The money they've spent is in the trillions. Much of it has come from the public purse of the United States and Europe. They are working day and night to bring on this mess that's coming, and it is the introduction of a new Messiah. Their Messiah is going to be a figurehead that is housed in Jerusalem, and they are going to try to set up their one world government through this. In fact, their documents stating these facts have gone back generations.